Widespread rain and a chance for storms are why tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day. I've got the newest timing for showers that could make for a messy morning.
Breaking news, a data breach that may have affected every student and teacher in North Carolina. Coming up, the personal information that may have been leaked.
A passenger train slams into a trailer in Cary. How many people were injured and why the mess left behind is taking so long to clean up.
Where to start tonight? So we got another data breach impacting our schools, another round of rain on the way, and another bill aimed at college sports in North Carolina. Good to have you with us here at 7 o'clock. This is the email address, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. You know what to do. Share your questions and feedback. Anything you want to know about what's going on in this community or that you see in this newscast, we want to hear from you. First up, this data breach impacting school districts all over the country, including North Carolina and Wake County. Tonight, the district notifying parents of a cybersecurity incident involving Canvas. So students, staff, and parents all use Canvas, and the data may have been exposed in this breach. We got Brian Schrader covering this for us in the WRAL Live Center. Here we go again. Brian, walk us through the alert that went out to parents.
Indeed. Remember all that stuff with Power School last year? Well, now we've got this with Canvas. We learned about this from Wake County schools only in the past half hour or so. That software is not just Wake County. It is used by every public school district in North Carolina, as well as a lot of colleges and universities. According to the people at Canvas, they believe that this data breach may have revealed the names, email addresses, student ID numbers, and messages among users for students and staff. It did not apparently include passwords, birth dates, government identifiers, or any financial information. This all happened back in late April. That's when the attack happened, and that's when Instructure, the company that owns Canvas, found out about it. And apparently just yesterday, state and local school officials were alerted to this. Wake County School says they're working to gather more and let people, students and staff, learn what they need to do next.
Let's hope that is the extent of it. Thank you, Brian. Let's talk about your forecast now. We had some rain today, which was nice. A little bit more rain tomorrow. Kat, it's our first WRAL weather alert day since Easter. It's been a while.
It's been a while, and you know, the good is going to outweigh the bad with this WRAL weather alert day. We need the rain. However, this is going to impact your morning commute tomorrow. It's probably going to slow you down and could lead to some issues on the roads, and that is why we issued it. Here are the trends today. The heavier rainfall totals are inching closer to the triangle. Severe potential remains low after looking at the latest models, and the impacts to the morning commute. That's the biggie. So here comes our next round of rain. It'll move in from the southwest. What happens is this front takes a couple days to pass through. It'll take all day today and tomorrow. So we'll continue to see these bands of rain riding along the front like a highway getting steered into North Carolina. As we head into the overnight hours, we're likely to see some rain arrive pretty late tonight, so be sure to check in for an update tonight at 11 o'clock with meteorologist Mike Mays before you head to bed. Tomorrow morning, we're waking up to rain 5 a.m. It is a wet start to the day and the morning commute. The roads are likely to be soggy as well. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at just how long the rain sticks around tomorrow.
All right, talk to you soon. Thank you, Kat. Now to this breaking story out of Cary. How about it? An Amtrak train hitting a trailer that was stuck on the tracks. This is Maynard Road, pretty busy street if you've ever been through that area. We know 6 people got hurt who were in that train when it smashed into that trailer. We want to go live to Cary. WRL's Eric Miller's in the breaking news tracker. It may still be a few more hours. It's been many hours since that's been closed, and it's going to be longer still, Eric.
Dan, that it is. You can see within the last hour out here, crews have turned their attention from repairing the tracks here to trying to deal with the trailer and the concrete blocks it was hauling that were all smashed up after the impact with this train. You take a look at some of this video, you can see this has been a major scene throughout this afternoon. This all happened right around 2 this afternoon near that Maynard Road and East Chatham Street intersection. An Amtrak train carrying 46 people slammed into this trailer after officials say that trailer became disconnected from the vehicle that was towing it. 6 people on board were injured. We are told, thankfully, those were minor injuries. Still some very scary moments for the people on board. Take a listen.
Then suddenly there was this huge, I guess I'd describe it as a jolt, but a loud bang sound. We kind of whiplashed, the girl and I, beside us.
Now, crews are still working out here and are likely to be here for a while longer. The last update we were given by folks here on scene is they are likely to be here for another 5 to 7 hours. We'll, of course, stay on this scene, let you know what we're seeing out here. In Cary, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
All right, we'll check back in. Thank you to Eric live at the scene there. Moving on now to a proposal to keep college athletes' salaries under wraps. There's this bill at the North Carolina legislature that's tackling revenue share. So schools, as you probably know by now, are required to share some of the money that they earn from sports with the athletes at the schools, but they don't want to share which teams in those schools are getting what. They want to keep that part private. To make sense as to why, Ashley Rowe took a trip to Murph's Turf.
Murph, revenue sharing came up today in the state legislature. What's going on? What did you hear in the legislature today?
Yeah, lawmakers want to exempt those revenue sharing contracts between universities, public universities, and athletes from any kind of public records laws. Of course, we're able to see what coaches make, but we are not able to see what colleges are paying their athletes.
Why have this in the first place? Who wants this?
Well, the universities want it, and I suspect they want it for a couple of reasons. One, they don't want necessarily everyone on the team to know what everyone else on the team is being paid for, competitive reasons within the team. But one of the reasons the lawmakers gave was they don't want, Tennessee or Texas or other universities to know what North Carolina or NC State are paying their players, because then they might come in and swoop in and try to get them with a pay raise. To that, I would say agents know all this information and are communicating with those other schools. So that reason doesn't hold a lot of water, but many states have done this, or at least a handful of states have done this. I think North Carolina doesn't want to be one of the outliers where this information becomes public.
Yeah, I think we can poke a lot of holes in some of those arguments there, but let's move on to one thing that is glaring to me. A lot of these are public institutions. We just think about our big schools here, public institutions. So does the public not have a right to know?
Well, this is the crux, I think, of the whole argument. Soon these players may be the highest paid people on campus. I mean, at some point they may get paid more than even the coaches that are being paid tens of millions of dollars. And so there's at least one argument that says, these are athletic department dollars, which come from a lot of different sources, but in the end, they're backing a public university, so they should be public. And then there's, in pro athletics, which college is moving closer and closer, we know exactly how much people are making. Those contracts are put out the day they sign them. We know exactly what the quarterback is making or the star basketball player is making. And so if college athletics can become more like pro, then maybe we should know what kind of salaries they're making.
Mm-hmm. Where does it go from here? This was just in a House committee today. So where do we go from here in the state legislature?
The full House may vote on this as soon as tomorrow. I would imagine the Senate could take it up next week. This could be the law of the state, within just a couple of days. Don't forget, lawmakers already passed a law last year that said NIL deals are exempt from public records laws. So they're just moving in this direction of kind of keeping those finances of college athletes, out of the sight of the public.
Wow. Okay, we'll see what happens. Thanks, Murph.
Murph's memorabilia at the Turf. He's running out of space there. Thanks to Ashley and Murph. We want to get to a few follow-up questions from a lot of you at home. A lot of you have been thinking about this topic. A viewer named Dan, good name, wrote into 7 p.m. at WRAL.com asking, with this NIL stuff, are these kids still getting scholarships? Yeah. Yes, they are. Ron asked, what do we do when a player receives more money for NIL than their tuition? And Laura wrote, why should college athletes receiving millions in NIL money get a scholarship? So thanks to all of you for sending in those questions. Let's use UNC as an example, and we'll use in-state tuition to talk about the numbers. So a full ride with in-state tuition would be worth around $100,000 for those 4 years. Now, for most of us, that is a ton of money. It's a lot of money. But compared to an NIL deal worth millions, not so much. So what happens when the deals are worth more than the tuition? Do universities need to give out these scholarships? Well, we should consider that most student athletes are not getting NIL money. The swimmers, gymnastics teams, the golfers, lacrosse, soccer, wrestling, sure they can, but we know that most of them are not. There might be one athlete on one of those teams getting NIL money, and it won't be anywhere near as lucrative as the football players and some of those basketball players. For those athletes, they aren't on that team unless there is a scholarship opportunity. And you might say, Dan, keep giving those athletes the scholarships, okay? That makes sense. Make the football players pay their own way, the ones getting millions and millions. But you can't do that either. And that's because of the law, because of Title IX. It's part of the education amendments passed in 1972. The NCAA says, quote, Title IX requires that female and male student athletes receive athletic scholarship dollars proportional to their participation. So we put it this way, if a university spends $1 million on scholarships for student athletes, and it's 50-50, half of the athletes are female, the other half are male, the school must spend half of the money on the female athletes and half the money on the male athletes. It's based on the percentage. Lots of the schools have ended up in court over this. In 1992, athletes sued Indiana University of Pennsylvania after they cut the women's gymnastics and field hockey teams, disrupting that scholarship percentage balance. There are lots of other examples: Texas, Temple, Brown, more recently San Diego State and Oregon, and it's usually over women's sports. But that rule does work both ways. If universities got rid of scholarships for football and basketball players for NIL or any other reason, that would be a problem. Plus, this is competition, right? I mean, if one school promises a top athlete a scholarship and another one doesn't, guess which one that athlete is more likely to pick? The one that offers the full ride and the millions of dollars. It's the world we're living in right now. Keep sending those questions, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. What else do you want to know about money in college sports? There's a new topic on this every week, it feels like. What else are we missing here on the news when it comes to this topic or anything else? Let us know, and we'll talk about it right here at 7 o'clock. Still ahead, Raleigh loses its grip on one of those power ranking lists we're always seeing ourselves in the news. Is Columbus really that much better than us? Are you serious? Stick around. It's a nice one last thing. Plus, we answer a good question about kratom and hear from a Raleigh family who lost their son after he became addicted to the stuff. There's always so much to talk about in the news, and I know you have a lot of questions, and you have some good ones. So let's get to a good question that we got in the 7 p.m. inbox. A viewer named Emily writing into 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. I'm asking that you cover a story on kratom, which is an opioid taking over everywhere. It's something that I turned to after I quit drinking, and it was almost worse. All right, so maybe some of you have heard of kratom. It is technically it's a tree, and its leaves can be used to make this drug with very different effects depending on how much you take. When you see it on the shelf at the gas station or at a smoke shop, it looks like this. People use it for lots of things: to treat pain, to treat anxiety, to treat coughing in some cases. But kratom isn't regulated. And that means a lot of things. It means it can be dangerous. It means we don't really know exactly what is in the things that you're buying off the shelves. And the FDA says, quote, there are no FDA-approved kratom drug products or over-the-counter drugs containing kratom that are legally on the market in the U.S. Then why is it available at all? Well, technically, kratom isn't legal and it's not illegal. There's no rule against it. It's kind of living in this gray area. Now, thousands of overdose deaths over the past few years have been linked to kratom or its derivatives. And a family in Raleigh recently lost their son after he became addicted, they say, to a chemical of kratom called 7-0. They told WRAL's Bailey Stamos that the drug needs to be off the market.
Leah Wright remembers the moment she received the call.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright, but your son has passed.
For years, her 28-year-old son, Carson Case Wilson, had been in recovery for substance abuse and was helping others with addiction, too.
Very shocking because this was, we had been down this road so many times, but yet he was doing well in recovery.
Until earlier this year, Wilson began taking 7-0, a compound found in kratom, sold in gas stations and vape shops. It's legal for anyone over 18. However, concerns about its safety are growing.
There aren't any warning labels. I know it's still sold. I know there are tons of people that have never heard of it, or if they've have heard of it, they don't really realize the damage that it can do. He's just like, I have never had anything take so long to detox from.
Wilson's mother says what started as something seemingly harmless to alleviate his back pain quickly became something much more difficult. Apex Mayor Jock Gilbert is just one of the people pushing for its regulation.
It's disturbing that we have such a dangerous synthetic opioid, is what I'll call it, what it's known for, that's really causing death and is accessible in gas stations and vape shops. And it needs to be heavily regulated or banned.
And Carson's parents hoping to carry his name to make a change.
We don't need any other parents sitting in front of you and talking to you about this. And if we can just help with starting with saving one.
Previous House bills have introduced regulations on the drug, but they've never made it past the Senate. That's something that Jimmy and Leah hope to change. Bailey Stamos, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Thank you, Bailey. In 2016, the DEA did try to make kratom a Schedule I substance. That's a big deal, but it didn't stick. And last year, the FDA released a report on 7-0 kratom, warning about the dangers. But it might ultimately come down to lawmakers to make any lasting change. Let's move now to an episode of Drought Daily, where we take your questions about the drought until this thing ends. And we might be doing it for a while. A viewer named Paul asked about that very thing. How long can it take us to get out of this drought? So for that answer, why don't we bring in an expert like meteorologist Kat Campbell as she prepares her weather forecast for us here. Kat, I get a feeling that we don't really have a perfect answer for this one, but if history is any indication, it could be a while.
It could be a while, and exactly, we don't have a clear answer to that question, but I can offer you two signs of hope. One, we're headed for hurricane season. That's a grim statement to make. However, sometimes we could even get weak, non-tropical or subtropical low-pressure systems that dump a lot of rain in our area during the summer months. The other thing is we're headed for an El Nino season, a pretty strong one, and those typically amount to pretty wet ends to the summer. So I have a hard time believing that we would still be in this drought by the time we get to the fall, or at least in this severity of the drought by the time we get to the fall. And the long-range drought monitor mirrors that. Let's take a look at our next source for some rain coming our way. There are tornado watches in effect to our southwest because this arrives here overnight and there is more energy and moisture to the south. We're not expecting that same threat level to reach our area. A little bit of rain to our west right now, nothing imminent. So if you want to head out for a dog walk right now, go for it. I hope to do that with Jazzy as soon as I'm done here with this weather forecast, because tomorrow it's going to be tough to do so. About half an inch to an inch of rain will be possible through tomorrow. As for tonight, we'll see our next round of rain likely close in right around the time we get to the 11 o'clock news. So make sure to check in with meteorologist Mike Mays for an update before you head to bed. That wave moves through, and then we're not done yet. We still have more waves of rain moving through overnight and into tomorrow. There could be areas of heavy rain during the morning commute, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder. That is why tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day. We need this rain, though. It's likely to just be pretty good news for us. Once we get to 3 o'clock, kids are starting to head home from school. Not as much action on the radar. And as we head into the evening, there should still be a little bit of scattered action, but again, not as much as we see in the morning. The morning would really be that problem time zone, likely through about lunchtime tomorrow. For your dog walking forecast, we go from an 80 to 90% chance of rain in the morning in the first half of the day to about a 50% chance during the afternoon. So half and half coverage on the radar once we get later in the day. Friday is a nice, dry, beautiful, mostly sunny day to close out the work week. Saturday and Sunday both feature a chance for rain. Right now, we're still going a 30% chance for rain both Saturday and Sunday. I'm not looking at much in the way of lightning or anything like that, which could be good for outdoor plans Saturday, and it doesn't look like a washout. Here's the thing, the weekend forecast is going to have a lot to do with what pans out tomorrow. It would be that same front potentially coming back to the north that would bring rain. So check in for an update tomorrow. We're going to watch how that front progresses, and that'll give us a better picture. Monday, a decent chance for storms, and then a little chilly, 47 by next Tuesday morning.
That will feel cold. All right, thank you, Kat. North Carolina, and our little part of it, is a pretty great place to live. All the power rankings out there say as much, but we just lost our top spot on one of those lists. What? It's our one last thing after the break. One last thing for you tonight. Who doesn't love a good power ranking? The news loves a good list. We know you do too. Those stories get a lot of clicks for a reason. Raleigh and North Carolina often find themselves in the top of so many of these lists. We had a few of them last year. You might remember CNBC ranking North Carolina #1 as the best state for business, and the Milken Institute ranking Raleigh as the best performing large metro area. And a company called Checker named Raleigh the best U.S. city for job opportunities and earning potential. All right. Yes, we're #1. It feels good, except we actually just took a little tumble down a different set of power rankings. You see, last year, ADP named Raleigh the top city, numero uno, for college graduates looking for a job. But we went back to back, actually. We were really good for a couple of years, but this year we could not defend our title. Who knows? I don't know if suddenly I don't trust these lists. Raleigh slid to number 5 in the ADP ranking this year. Instead, they put Birmingham, Alabama at the top. Tampa after that, San Jose, and Columbus. We were in 5th place. Really? 1 to 5? Columbus is better than Raleigh for college graduates? Columbus. Sure about that? I mean, how do they even make these lists? Honestly. Well, they told us. ADP looks at hiring rate, wages, and affordability. It's not that Raleigh did poorly. It's that these other cities are just doing really great right now. Wages shot up in Birmingham. Affordability isn't super great in Tampa or San Jose, but hiring apparently took off, and Columbus did pretty well in all 3 categories. So there you have it. I guess we're going to try a little harder next year. Should we do our own set of power rankings on this show, local stuff? What do you think? Do we have anything that you want to rank? I like a list. They're fun. Send us an email. Hey, some quick feedback from those of you who sent us an email tonight during the newscast. A viewer named Joy wrote in and said, is NIL money, the money student athletes make from brand deals and stuff like that, is that money taxable? So yeah, athletes do have to pay taxes on their NIL deals, kind of like income. What's that phrase? Nothing is certain except death and taxes. Yeah, they'll tax you. They'll get your money. I'm sure they're finding some. They got smart people working with them, putting the money in spots where they, you know how it works. 7 p.m., WRAL.com. Keep those emails coming.